Welcome back to another episode of the Free Folk podcast. Today we have a very special guest, which is Emma Hallinan from Sydney. She was the winner of a golden ticket. She'll be talking today in regards to her time at the World Team Championships for Kill Team, her local community building, and some of her favourite teams. So guys, sit back and enjoy the interview with Emma. I wanted to give a massive shout out at the start of this podcast for those people who've been supporting me. I really appreciate it. Also have some hot news. So for November, there is a Kill Team tournament at the Collectors Market, which I'll put a link in the description below. Also, 2 other tournaments that will be happening in December, which I'll also put links up for in the description below. I encourage everyone to go to these. They are friendly tournaments. A lot of the free folk are going to be there. If you're not a free folk and you want to come up and talk to us, it's all good. Come and chat to us about Kill Team and all the regular things that we're doing. I highly encourage you guys to go to the 2 events that are happening in December for new players, as these are more casual based and good stomping grounds for you to learn how to play the game, as well as lots of support from the friendly local game stores. Thanks, guys. I'd like to introduce Emma Hallinan tonight. So thanks very much for joining me.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome aboard. I guess honorary free folk. So that's our gaming little guild up here. So yeah, welcome aboard.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Emma won the recent golden ticket for the Sydney Open, going an undefeated, mind you, throughout the day, which was I think there was 2 other undefeated players. But you ended up having the highest victory points overall, and I think you ended up beating, it was 51 players on the day, right?
Yeah, apparently the largest Kill Team tournament in the Southern Hemisphere thus far. So I'll
Yeah.
I'll talk, say that to people proudly, but
Yeah.
it was a good time.
Yeah. Like, a big congratulations. Like, it was a really big day. So I attended that event as well. I didn't do as well as Emma, obviously. But I think the big thing too is speaking to Emma on the day, it was a bit of a catalyst for me to start this podcast, because we sort of had a bit of a joking interview after you'd won, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the idea, I think, is great, because I think just more of this content about the various Kill Team scenes and people around Australia is
Yeah.
overdue, I think.
Well, I couldn't agree more. Like, so when we sort of think about like some of the good players, like even Alexi, right? Like, who was, I would say, up there in the player status in global rankings. You know, you look at that person, and he's Australian
Yep.
based. Emma, why don't you, on the day when we were at the Sydney Open, when you found out you won the golden ticket, just sort of walk us through like your feelings when you sort of won.
Part of it was probably relief, I guess. It's kind of a funny build up where I've been to a number of golden ticket events.
Yep.
And I kind of, in terms of how I see my own kind of ability, I had expectations of myself for kind of qualifying, but as it happened, I was, the prior to golden ticket events, I took Felgor, and both events had Beta Decima.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of like I leaned into it. I accepted the fact that they suck on Beta Decima, and I still kind of pulled out some surprise results. But in the end, for both of those, I kind of fell short of actually getting a ticket. But I guess this was the final opportunity,
Yeah.
and so going into it, going into any tournament, I'm quite nervous.
Okay.
But yeah, going into this, of course, there were some factors in my favor in the fact that some of the other top players weren't going to be there, but there was, of course, plenty of very good players there as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't sell yourself short there in any means. Yeah.
But yeah, so a bit of relief in the fact that I was able to do it. Very, very excited. Yeah, very happy.
Oh, good.
Kind
Well,
of
that's
pretty
good.
pretty
Yeah.
pleased with myself.
Yeah. Oh, and you should be too. I think it's so for me personally, I think sometimes it's really hard for people to give themselves like a pat on the back or to be celebrate your victory without it being sort of say seen as being toxic, but like being like in the guise of good sportsmanship. So like yeah, definitely celebrate it. I think it's fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. You sort of said there as well that before any tournament, we can talk about other tournaments as well. We don't necessarily need to talk about the Sydney Open because I know you went to the World Championships as well.
Yep.
The World Team Championships, sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and you ran the Corsairs,
Mm-hmm.
and then you actually won the Sydney event with Corsairs as well.
Yep.
So we could say that you're probably pretty veteran and pretty well knowledgeable about Corsairs, right?
Yeah, I guess so. At that point, going to the World Team Championship because of the team format, it was quite interesting in the fact that there was a lot of control that the team had over specific matchups and maps and things like that. So there's this
Yeah.
kind of balance of having teams that are particularly good at a certain map,
Yes.
and then other teams that are more well-rounded.
Yeah.
So Corsairs was an idea um, for the fact that they were particularly good on Into the Dark. I leading up to that, I hadn't played with them much. I'd only just gotten the team recently, but I painted them up really enough. Personally, I find that I'm quite good at Into the Dark, which I don't understand how I am, but it just works out that I am.
Okay.
Um, I've had plenty of experience playing like Navy Breaches, and they're of course also very good on Into the Dark. But yeah, so going into the World Team Championship, it was a good choice to have Corsairs as a Into the Dark specialist, and it really worked out. I played a single game on an open board, and I won that. That was quite fun because I tabled a Galapox player in turning point 3 or something.
Oh wow, that's impressive. There's a lot of HP to like dig through there as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Managed to cut through all the bodies, but um, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I found that because I've also played well, going back a while, going back a year ago, I actually won a Sydney GT with Hand of the Archon.
Okay.
So same timing, funnily enough. It was like September last year or something. So
Okay.
exactly a year before the Sydney Open that we're talking about. I won that with Hand of the Archon, and I was quite good with Hand of the Archon.
Oh, that's
Which
okay.
which was funny because no one else was playing them, so I was just kind of working it out on the fly, and yeah, I was quite happy with that as well, and so I think I've kind of come to understand that Eldar teams suit me in the
Yeah.
way that they play, and so I thought, yeah, you know what, Corsairs are good. They've been buffed a little bit in recent times, so I'll take them to the World Team Championship, and that worked out quite well. I did fairly well. I think I won 4 out of 7 games, so a winning ratio against top international players. So I'm
Yeah, I was
pretty
gonna
happy with
say
that.
like that's pretty good, more than 50% against what we probably consider maybe the world's best.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
coming back from that, I guess it was because I was thinking, oh, I'll take Brood Brothers. I really want to win the golden ticket.
Yes.
I'll take Brood Brothers because they're overpowered.
Yep.
um, but I hadn't played with them much because, of course, I'd been practicing with Corsairs going overseas, and then played with them over there, and then come back and after a month in Europe because we stayed over there, my partner and I, to rock climb and things. So I hadn't practiced with Brood Brothers.
Yep.
But going into Sydney Open, there's the mix of maps where it's Into the Dark and Beta Decima and Open.
Yep.
Now, again, it's that decision where Corsairs are incredibly good on Into the Dark and very good on Beta Decima,
Yes.
and it's only really Open where they have a bit of a hard time. But even still, like they've got their tricks.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll just run them, and we knew that there's going to be multiple undefeated players just by the fact that there were like 60 sign-ups and
Yes.
four rounds, right? It's unavoidable. So the winner is going to be based on victory points. So it's not enough to just win. You also need to get high scores, and
Yeah.
Corsairs again are very good at that. So yeah, it was a strategic pick, and definitely worked out. So
Yeah, I was going to say, so listening to you sort of tell that whole story, I guess we can say, like, if we want to break it down for everybody listening, and especially those people who want to get better at tournament play, I guess we can say, looking back at your experience, you've picked a team that you knew you've had a lot of reps with. You didn't just pick up Brood Brothers on the day and go, "Oh yeah, I'll give this a go." You went with a team that you had really good experience with, and proven experience as well. Not just like a thought in your head that, "Oh yeah, I'm good with these guys." You were like, "I legitimately have stats to show."
Yep.
An all-rounder that you knew. Yeah, if the three types of maps that are ahead of us here, two of those types of maps I'm going to excel at, which we talked about being Into the Dark, Beta Decima, and then the third one, which would be Open. You're like, well, I can still go toe to toe. It might not be as powerful, or might not. Maybe there's some downsides, but willing to accept that risk. I guess Kill Team has a little bit of gambling built into it.
Yep.
And then the third part too is taking the thought process of, all right, well, I need a team that can score, well, that I know I can score a lot more points or max points every game, because I know that if I want a shot at the top rank, that I need to be scoring max points every single game. So what team can I do that with? Wasn't just enough that you needed to just win, but you need to sort of like max your points out, right? So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and that's good. I think that's something where, so for us up in Queensland too, I think sometimes we play more a lot of the time with our hearts, or maybe what we like, and so like when we want to do like a more tournament driven play, it's like, oh, actually maybe I should think about the guys that I have played the most with. Like, yeah, sure, Brood Brothers are a bit OP at the moment, but have I had any games with them? No. Maybe it's not worth me taking them. Maybe it's worth me taking Commandos, because I know how to play them well, right?
Yeah. Like I think, especially with the previous edition, it was that kind of quite a balanced state, and it's such a skill-based game that really there's a lot to say about just who you're good with, as opposed to what the overall stats say is the strongest team. And
Yeah,
a good
exactly.
example of that is there was this Italian guy who played in WTC, and he was running the Fast Talker Kinban, right? And they were very much one of the weaker teams, without a doubt. But he played in the World Team Championship singles event, which is kind of confusing, but that happened just before the team event.
Yep.
And he did incredibly well. Like he was it like 6 rounds, and he got like 5 wins or something.
Amazing.
Incredible. And I ended up playing against him in the team championship. And again, like I was playing Corsairs on Into the Dark, which I was very confident, and I only just beat him. Like it was a very close game. It was so tight.
Right.
He was amazing, and it was funny because like he was forgetting to put models on the board at the start and forgetting about certain rules and stuff, and it's like I was kind of rubbing my hands together thinking, oh, this will be a nice easy win, and then it was terrible. He was so good.
Maybe he was doing some mind games with the Emma.
Yeah, he must have been. Like it's got to be something like that, but that just goes to show, of course, he was running, one of the technically weaker teams, but he was just so experienced and confident with them that he did very well.
Yeah, I find that too. I find from my experience, like I had played a lot of orcs when we very first got into kill team. So for me, you get a rhythm with a team, right? You sort of start getting this. Oh, I'm going to do this, and all right, well, next turn I'm going to activate this tactical ploy or whatever it may be, and you sort of get like into a rhythm. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. And you kind of, with the experience in the game, you come across situations where maybe at first you don't know how to handle it, but then you learn from your mistakes, and you stick with the same team, and you come across the same situation again, and you know exactly what to do. Like,
yeah,
yeah, all teams to be like will have some sort of answer, will have some correct way to handle the various situations, and
Mm.
being able to build that up in your kind of muscle memory
Yeah,
owes a lot. And especially when it comes to playing tournaments, like um uh, there's so much benefit to just being comfortable with a team when you're playing 3 or 4 rounds in a day,
yeah, yeah.
so
Exactly
that
right.
once you're like mentally exhausted, you still have that experience to fall back on.
Oh, 100%. I feel the other thing too is in these larger tournaments, by the end of like game two, I'm shattered. Like I'm not as
Yep.
veteran as I used to be, right? Like I remember we used to do uh, lots of X-Wing tournaments. And we play maybe 5 or 6 games or something like that. They're a lot shorter. They're like 75 minutes or something. But
Okay.
I never felt so shattered at the end. And I feel like Kill Team really takes. I'm getting old, it really takes it out of me. But I find those, even though I'm exhausted during that process, I find it so rewarding and fulfilling to play the game because you are sort of testing yourself at that stage, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm much the same. After 3 or 4 rounds, I'm absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but then you get to the end, and even in between rounds, pretty exhausted. But then you get into the game and you get into the flow of things,
yeah,
and
100%.
you know once it's in front of you, you're making the decisions, you're performing the actions, and yeah, at the end of the day, it is quite satisfying to
Yeah.
have gotten through it, and to have had fun, and you know it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, 100%. I fully agree. Yeah. So while we're talking about tournaments, what advice would you give to somebody? So I think we have quite a few community members up here who they might be going into their very first tournament, or they're thinking, "Hey, I want to sort of step into more competitive play." What advice would you give to that person who, maybe they turn up once a week or once every fortnight and they play Kill Team and they're going to go to their first event now? What are some just like real quick fire sort of advice that you could give that player going forward?
Yeah, okay. So one of the first things I would say is that there's a good chance that there's other people that are quite new going to the same tournament. And so with the way that pairing and multiple rounds works, like even if you go up against the strongest person there in the first round and you get absolutely stomped, the next round you're going to be up against someone that's much closer to your level, and you're going to have a lot of fun
That's a
because
great point. That's a really
yeah,
good point.
everyone's there for fun, and you're gonna get it. You're gonna have fun. Like it's I think it's just the nature of it, and because there's such a spread of skill levels, and how competitive people are and things like that. Yeah, you're going to be playing a lot of games against people that are closer to your level, and you're going to enjoy it. So I think that's the one major thing to try to get people in, because yeah, I don't think anyone that's new needs to be too concerned that they're just going to get stomped all day, because of course that the idea of that doesn't sound like too much fun,
No,
but
it's not appealing. It's not appealing at all, is it? Yeah.
but yeah, there's going to be other people there, that are quite new as well. So that's always the case. That's what
Yeah.
I've found. That's always the case, and yeah, even the newest people are going to have a great time.
Yeah, and even
And
yeah.
yep.
So sorry, go on. No, don't cut you off. Keep going.
I guess even aside from that, the people there, the personalities there, even if you lose every game, because it's inevitable that someone wins the wooden spoon, which is also a great thing because often you'll get something for it. Um, but it's just a bunch of people that are probably quite similar in terms of their personalities, and of course you're all part of the same hobby and things like that. So there's going to be typically
Yeah.
great people there. Like the Kill Team community is all very friendly. I haven't come across anyone that's nasty or anything.
Yeah, I think we've got a really good community. I think New South Wales has a good one. I can't say too much about any other state because I've only really done the New South Wales tournaments. I know for experience up here that our group is very good, and I think we even when we get together for those interstate events, I think even though there is a little bit of friendly rivalry,
Mm.
yeah, we all gel really well, and we all still chat to each other and have a good,
Oh
saw you
yeah.
playing this and then, well, yeah, like no one's ever like. I remember a very very long time ago, I went to a big hammer event. This was many years ago, and it was the most uncomfortable thing that I've ever been a part of. And I was like, oh man, this is really bad. And I just don't
Yep.
think it's the same with Kill Team for some reason. I don't know why, but
Mm.
it's really good. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I guess it must just be something about the game attracts a different type of person, and yeah, when we have multiple states represented at a tournament, it's awesome to chat to the people that have traveled and I haven't met before, and talk about their scenes
Yeah.
and what tournaments they run, and see their models and all these kinds of things. It's great.
Oh yeah, and the painting at some of these tournaments, some of the models are you like, wow, man, this is amazing. This is such a
Yeah.
good job. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, cool. So I guess we could say, like, maybe to summarize that, like, don't actually be scared to go to a tournament that you're going to get stomped because eventually you're going to like level out with skilled players at the same level.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's cool. That's a good thing. That's a good bit of advice, I think. So let's talk about maybe third edition now because I think it's been out for 4 weeks. Do you think it's been 4 weeks?
Geez, has it been 4 weeks?
3 weeks, maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's been out for a few weeks now. I don't know about you, but I'll in the first episode of this series of podcasts, I said I got really really excited to go to our local game store and play.
Mm.
I'd received my box that morning, and it was on a public holiday, which was like it was weird that the courier dropped it off on a public holiday. I thought this is
Yeah, that's
insane.
funny. It's a sign.
Yeah, and then I've ripped open. This was like at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like I ripped open the packaging. I got into the rules and started reading it. And then I sort of said on the previous podcast that it was really funny because to me I felt like I was going on a date because like most of the time when I go to play, I go straight from work. But I had a shower, I washed my hair, I even put on aftershave, Emma. Like I
Oh
was,
wow.
yeah, I know. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited to go and play. And then when I got there, it was I met up with you would know Taz and
Yep.
Max. So I met up with those boys, and I was really excited. I was like, oh wow, this is really like for me. It was like a happy little boy moment almost, like I was just so so over the top excited. And then now I think at this point I've had 3 games under my belt of the new edition. And I actually,
Hmm.
going back to your elves conversation, I played my first 2 games with Hand of the Archon. I really like the
Oh
look of
yeah.
those guys. And then I played Phobos last night, which I'm off them. I'm off them, mate. No Phobos
Off
for
the
me.
Phobos. Okay.
Yeah, no good for me. But tell me what's your experience been with third edition so far? Maybe just how have you been finding it?
Yeah, so I guess in the same way, it's very exciting because it's like picking up a new game, but everyone that you're friends with is doing it at the same time. So we're all kind of moving into it together, and the changes, even though it's at the core, it's still the same game. We can understand it easy enough, but the changes are big enough that it has changed a lot. So it feels like a new game, and we're all going into it together, which is very exciting. In terms of the specifics about it, or well, I guess instead I'll start with the fact that it's, for me personally, it's very confusing. Not in that the actual rules themselves are confusing, but just because it is so new and there are so many changes.
Oh, Emma, the rules are confusing to me. I will tell you, I am a very bad student.
Yeah.
And when I'm teaching myself, I'm a bad teacher as well. And when I'm
Okay.
teaching myself, I'm a bad teacher and a bad student. So it doesn't really, it doesn't work
Yeah.
so well for me.
It has taken a little while to really gel, and I'm picking up new things each game.
Yeah.
But I think that's just coming from a point where I was so comfortable and familiar that it's just thrown that all out of whack. But getting there. So and really, if I look at it, it hasn't taken long to actually become again familiar. But it has the first few moments have been pretty confusing. I think it is still very exciting because it's just unlimited opportunity as to where the game can go, and I think some of the core changes they've made are really positive and open up these opportunities to have a broader, even more kind of enjoyable game, because that is the benefit of a new edition, where through a single edition they can make balance changes, they can release FAQs, they can fiddle with small things, but if something fundamentally doesn't work, it's kind of hard to change that. So that is where a new edition can kind of save the day, and I think that has happened to some extent. And as a lot of people will know, there's been this kind of overcorrection where the previous edition, and this is the big boogeyman, the elite teams had a hard time, right? They had a hard time. There's no question about that. But there were periods where they were pretty good.
Oh, 100%.
But then as people got even more experience with the game, and as new teams were released and all these kinds of things, elites kind of fell off a bit because there was just this fundamental issue. Like I was saying, this fundamental kind of aspect of the game which made it difficult for them, particularly just based around being out activated and being unable to do anything about it, right?
Exactly right.
You'd send your marine into the middle, even if it was your last activation, your sixth activation, you send him into the middle. Your opponent has 6 more activations to give their melter gun an extra APL, and they just run up and melt you. And then if they win the initiative again, they run over and melt someone else, and then that's basically game over. Like, it's hard to avoid that. So
You've lost 30% of your team in
exactly.
one.
Yeah. So that kind of thing made it very difficult for them. Now, obviously, the game designers have recognized that, and they've thought to themselves, "Oh, we'll fix that." And I joked that they had a bunch of ideas to fix it, and they accidentally did them all.
Yeah, fair enough.
So of course, the launch of a new edition, and alongside that, it's quite clear that they wrote a lot of these rules, quite a while ago, before a number of the balance updates for the previous edition had even come out. So some of the rules and some of the strengths and things like that we're seeing are really kind of immature, which is to be expected. And I think even though people can be a bit worried about it, I think we just go with it. We just run with it, take it in our stride, and we know that the game was quite well balanced previously, and it will get to that point again. And
I
it
don't
probably
think
won't.
it'll. Yeah, I
It
don't
won't
think
even
it'll
take
take too
that
long.
long.
No,
Yeah,
no, I
exactly.
agree. Yeah, I think looking back when I looking at the balance updates. Oh, geez, sorry about that. Looking at the updates there, you can sort of see there were some parallels here between second and third edition almost feels, I would say, 6 to 8 months behind.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully when we get the new, hopefully in the next 3 months or so when they do a balance update, we'll
Yep.
get to a point where everything will be a little bit more, balanced out there. So I
Yeah.
agree. I agree with what you're saying. I also agree about the elite teams seem to be very strong at the moment. I had a game last night, so I taught a new player last night how to play.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry to him, he's probably picked up a bunch of bad habits and doesn't know how to play properly. No, but he said to me, "I like the look of legionaries. I'm going to take legionaries." And I was like, "Okay, no worries." I said, "Well, I'm going to take." I'll take the Phobos and we'll have a game. So this is a new player, never played before. He only read the light rules. By turning point 2, he had killed 4 of my Phobos
Oh
Marines.
wow.
And in all fairness, like I was like running him up pretty deep and
Yeah.
whatever else. I wasn't like going too hard. But in the same respect, I was like, yeah, he's really taking these legionaries to a new level here and doing really strong with them. So I mean, even that goes to show, there needs to be a little bit of a pullback on some of the things that they can and can't do. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Other than that, I guess in terms of, because it's not all just elites, they are looking very good. They are very strong. Of course, in terms of, I guess at the moment they act as a bit of a gatekeeper.
Yes.
So what we've been talking about amongst like the people going to the world championships and things like that.
Yeah, you guys have
Um,
your own little chat going and stuff,
yeah,
right?
we've got
Yeah.
our own special invite little chat, of course. um, the talk is that what teams can actually kill Marines, because that's a big thing.
Yeah.
So they're acting as a gatekeeper, where a lot of teams at the moment struggle to kill them.
Yep.
But that's not the end of the world. Um, you can still play the mission. You can still play your tac ops. You can still be a better player and win the game. It might be more difficult, but of course, there's fun in that challenge.
Oh
But
yeah.
then we do look at teams that are good at killing them, such as, of course, Inquisition,
Oh yeah.
inquisitorial agents.
Oh mate, yeah,
Uh,
unbelievable. Reading those rules up a couple of weeks ago, and my eyes were falling out of my head. I couldn't believe it.
yeah, it's kind of funny because they would already, they weren't a slouch team in the previous edition,
Oh,
and
very strong, very strong.
for some reason the game designers thought they needed more.
Yeah.
So inquisitorial agents, I think the elite teams, while they might be a bit of a bully, they'll probably fall over to a good inquisitorial agents team. Fortunately for me, and I'm quite happy about it, is that the Eldar teams are quite good, or some of them at least.
Yeah.
So my Hand of the Archon and my Corsairs are both quite happy.
Oh, that's good. And have you had? I'll ask you a question from
Yeah, yeah,
this
go
is
for
just
it.
between you and me, so no other anyone listening. Just turn the volume down for a minute. What Hand of the Archon? How many games have you had with them?
What is it, like 3?
You've had 3 games so far.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and tell me
Um,
what's your operative picks? What's your real standout picks so I can then include them the next game I play?
so the big thing, right? Of course, if you're playing against Marines,
Yeah.
you take the Dark Lance,
Oh
which
yes. Yeah.
is going to, and you give it the Omen, so it rerolls ones, and you give it a pain token so it can reroll its twos as well. So you've effectively got Relentless. And even if they ignore one of the piercing, you've got piercing 2, and you roll 4 hits, and you do 18 damage, and they fall over anyway, right?
Oh, I love it. Oh, Emma, I
But
love it. You're a savage.
the good tech here is that if you're not playing against elites, you drop the heavy gun for an extra agent, because the agent ability, of course, means that they get a pain token when you give someone else a pain token.
Mm,
Everyone's got the drugs that lets you assign a pain token. So turning point one, you assign a pain token to someone. One of your agents gets one as well. So you've got two guys with pain tokens.
yep.
Start of turning point two, you do the same thing. You've got four people with pain tokens. That's four, like almost half of your team that can potentially get 3 APL.
Amazing.
And you just, and you know, you've got from Darkness Death, you've got Rending on your melee.
Oh,
You give
yeah.
them the lethal 5 equipment. So if you're playing against 7 or 8 wound models, your agents run up, kill someone in melee quite easily, shoot someone else and do quite well,
Yeah.
or you know, run up, kill someone, steal an objective because they've got 3 APL. Having 4 people with 3 APL at the start of turning point 2 is very good.
Oh, that's actually really interesting. I'll have to have a look at that, and I'll pick your brain about it after I have my next game with them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So everyone else can volume back up now, and you can
volume
listen
back up.
again. Yep. Yeah. Cool. And what about the Corsairs? Have you had many games with those?
So they were the first team that I was playing in the new edition.
Mhm.
Still only, you know, a handful of games because
Yeah.
it's
It's
so early, but
only been a couple of weeks, right?
early days, early days. But Corsairs, there's some sadness in that they lost the leaders group activate. That was the most fun thing to do. And Light Fingers is a bit crappy now.
Okay.
But the Kernite Hunter is just an absolute bully
Okay.
because it can fight first, then you can pick someone to activate before them, and you know, you stage the Kernite Hunter forward, you pick someone that's nearby, your opponent tries to activate them, or you just hold back, right?
Right.
And because you get to charge in and you get to fight first, even though that charge isn't you activating. So they activate that person, and try to do something. You just charge them, and then do they want to fight you? You're fighting first, and you've got a power sword.
Oh, so good. I think it's amazing that team that you can just deck them out with a bunch of power swords. So good.
Yeah, yeah.
So good.
It's one of the great things of the team. It's just like you're running around with your healer or something like that, and it's like you charge in with your healer. It's like, what melee weapon do you have? Oh, just a power sword. You know, it's just everyone's got a power sword.
I know it's really funny. When we first saw them, I was like, I just can't really see anything good in this team that really stood
Yeah,
out to me. Like, you know, anything overpowered or whatever. And then you're like, oh, hang on, you can give everyone a power sword?
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, oh, I've built them wrong.
Yeah, they're all just melee operatives running around that happen to do other things as well.
Yeah, that's a good take. That's a good take. Fantastic. And so, well, I guess the thing is, with everyone getting geared up for the worlds and all the rest, what have you found as being like a bit of a training regime? Have you been doing much? I mean, I imagine you guys have been playing some games in real life and probably on TTS or something along those lines, right?
Uh, I guess I'll take this opportunity to break the bad news that I can't go to Worlds,
Oh,
even though I qualified. The nature of working in IT and particularly with my position, work couldn't approve my leave.
you're too important.
I'm too important. I'm in a team of 2 that
Oh,
handles our most critical internal systems, and we're replacing probably our biggest system at the time. So all hands on deck. So
that's really disappointing news.
it's a bit sad. It does mean I didn't have to worry about buying FS. So
Yeah.
a bit more cash in the back pocket, but um yeah, in my place it went to the third place winner, Mikey.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, so which
Oh.
is a great result because he's certainly a great player, up and coming in Sydney. He gave me my hardest. Oh, was he in third place? I can't
Yes.
remember.
Um,
Because I played against him. I beat him at the Sydney Open. He was definitely my hardest match. He's very good, and he's also an amazing painter.
oh,
So
Mikey, yeah, so I've had the pleasure of playing two games, even though he's Sydney based.
yep,
I played him at the Purge, and
yep,
then I played him up here when you guys all came up for
yeah,
our collector's market. So that's lovely to hear that he's got the ticket there. So that's great, and he's such a nice guy too.
yeah.
Um,
He's so nice.
and you're right, his painting is really good. So his Blooded
Mm,
are themed off the Dark Tide or whatever, the video game Dark Tide, and they are so good. They're like, oh, it just looks so like real good tribute to the video game, I think.
yeah, like just everything he paints is amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I don't know how he has the motivation. I painted up one team, my Felgor, really well, and I was very proud of them. But it was so much effort. Everything else is just contrast paints.
Yeah, but I think it's really funny because it is a big part of the hobby too, and I find I don't know if you find this, Emma, but
Mm.
there's some teams I'm like I'm keen to get these guys on the board ASAP, so I will rush through them to try and get them ready. Do you ever get that?
Yes, often. I think kind of being very involved on the competitive side, and like I said, I've uh, got kind of the bad habit of putting a lot of pressure on myself. Um,
Mm,
yeah, it is often a case of I want to start playing with this team ASAP because I like the look of them, but I also think they'll be competitive. So I'm going to just bang them out quickly.
yeah,
If I try to put a lot of effort in, it's going to take me a while. I guess the Felgor were a bit of an exception because I from the start I decided to paint them properly.
yep, okay, yeah,
And as I was doing that, there was no uh great pressure to get them finished.
yep, I
Um,
understand. Yep,
so I was able to take my time a bit. And then of course, like I said, I ended up taking them to two GTs that both involved beta decima. So I was quite
that's
sad.
right, and a pretty big hangover on one of those,
Oh yeah.
right? Yeah,
That,
you were
I,
looking really rough that day.
I pulled out a bit of drunken master, and
Yeah.
that because the first round on that second day at the collector's market,
Yeah.
I was up against Phobos on beta decima
Yeah.
with Felgor,
Yeah. It's
and
not
and I
yeah, not a
I
good matchup.
pulled I pulled the draw.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's really good.
This was against Jay from Sydney as well, who is also
Oh
very
yeah.
he's very good at the game. So he was pretty salty because yeah, managing to snag the draw against Phobos, who are incredibly good on beta decima.
Nah,
Um,
stir him up, Emma. Stir him up, I
I was
reckon.
I was so happy, and the happiest point, I had my leader with the plasma pistol staged up on one of the gantries, and of course the plasma pistol hits on fours, right?
Yes.
The Felgor plasma pistol hits on fours, so I needed to uh break through a bit, and he had a bunch of these guys just standing up out in the open because um of course Felgor have no ranged shooting at all.
Okay.
Um, so I set it up. I what did I do? I think I won the initiative or something. So I used the leader's ability to dash him out in the open and then move forward and shoot someone with an overcharged plasma pistol, hitting on fours. I rolled 4 hits and just deleted a marine,
So
and that
satisfying.
it was so satisfying. And it's just like that allowed me to kind of you know get a good result in terrible circumstances.
Yeah, and get a bit of momentum, right, and give yourself
Yeah,
a bit of a like a morale boost.
yeah, 100%. But
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. But
Oh,
yeah,
good.
even still, it's yeah. Then I got absolutely murdered on another beta decima map where
Oh.
I barely was able to. I couldn't be safe in my own drop zone because of my opponent having fly and blast and
Oh, yeah.
various other things. So I just got. I think I lost like 5 or 6 goats in the first turn.
Oh, mate. Yeah, no good. No good. Well, I tell you what, I've heard rumors that the end of November there might be another collector's market. So keep
Oh,
your keep you posted.
yeah. Let
Yeah.
me know because always keen to travel.
Yeah.
It's always good fun and it's great up there with all you Queenslanders.
Yeah. Yeah, we're good people. I know it doesn't always seem that way, but we are.
Well, my family's in Queensland, so
Oh, there you go.
I can't hate Queenslanders too much.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, Queenslander at heart. So yeah, I'll let you know definitely. So I think there's just some things getting ironed out at the moment, but I have heard rumors that it's going to be happening at the end of November. So I will, maybe instead of going to Worlds, you can come to Queensland.
Mm.
Yeah.
I prefer Brisbane over Atlanta. I've heard bad things about Atlanta.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't know. I know obviously Tassie's going, and
Yep.
wish him all the best, obviously. But yeah, we'll have to wait for some war stories, I think, for everyone returning. So yeah, we'll just. I've got one more, probably like pretty not serious question, but I guess one that we can just sort of riff on here, and that's is another rumor actually, because I heard that you do 3D print terrain. Is that correct?
Yes, certainly. So
Okay.
I run the monthly Hillbillies Romps in Sydney, Sydney Northwest.
Okay. Go
Um,
tell us about it. We don't know. So
yeah.
yeah. Tell us all about it.
So it's pretty like I think it's good to build momentum when it comes to these things. So running a monthly tournament, cheap entry, it's like $25 a ticket,
Okay.
3 rounds, pretty casual. Um, we're just in an RSL. Talking about the 3D printing, I guess that what makes it quite easy and repeatable is the fact that I print most of the terrain that we use. So, and then I give it out as prizes.
Oh, that's amazing.
So the people that are coming along will a couple of people each month will go home with a set of their own terrain that, of course, they can then use at games nights and play with their mates and things like that. I think it's where I hope it's a good idea to kind of
It sounds like a really good
make
idea.
a
I think,
hobby.
yeah, I like the sound of it actually, because we do. So the joke for our gaming group is free folk, because we don't. A long time ago, I wanted to do a league, and I said, "Do you guys want to chip in $5 or just keep it free?" And they were like, "No, free. We don't want to spend any money." So I was like, "Okay, free folk it is then," and
Yep.
it sort of snowballed from there. But I like the idea of a cheap tournament that gets run where we can do something like that. So maybe that's something to have a think about on my end. Um,
Yeah. So there's the trainers prizes. Um, there's gift vouchers to one of our local stores. Like
love it.
the actual space we use, we're quite lucky because the actual space is free. We just turn up. It's
That's the
just
big one, right?
it's a games room at an RSL. So effectively, all of the entry fees can just go towards prizes, which
Yeah, I love that.
works out pretty cool.
I love that. Yeah, I really want to try and find somewhere where we can do that here. I think, yeah, you've definitely inspired me, Emma. That's for sure. So that's 2 points of inspiration for you. And so just going on from the terrain part, so I know you sort of design it and print it yourself there. So with the new Kill Team board, the Volcus, what are your thoughts around that?
There's a lot of heavy terrain, which is just a challenge to work around.
Yep.
Um, it's it's certainly it's something new. It's interesting. I don't think I've even really worked out how the rules for it work properly yet, because you get lethal 5-up if you're shooting into it and things like that. I don't know
Yeah.
if I've even remembered to do that.
Oh no, we had I had the very second game I had, somebody threw a frag grenade into the bunker that I was in.
Yeah,
Two guys in it, and it's like, oh, that's lethal 5-up, and I was like, oh fuck it, that's not good for me. Like,
and frag grenades are stronger now as well.
yeah, and I was like, oh, this is not, and they were just they were the hand of the Archon too, and I'm like, oh, this is not good for me at all.
Yeah.
So it will catch you off guard, I think, at first as well.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like again, it's another new thing that just adds some interest. Like it'll be, I'll be curious to see how it's accepted by the competitive community
Oh yeah,
more broadly, like internationally and things like that. Because of course, if we look at Beta Decima, the international scene is very much not a fan,
yeah.
and that may continue to be the case. So. Um,
I think it just needs a little tweaking. Do you know what I mean? That beta decima, like, yeah, it's
Honestly, it's probably better now that people have access to things like ladders.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
But I haven't yet played it in the new edition. It'd be interesting to play. I think it's kind of a funny thing because at least in Sydney here, it seems that people just want to use the terrain that they have. So Beta Decima will get play.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But Volcus, I could see it going either way. I could see it like depending on how things like the balance and the rules pan out.
Yeah.
It could fall off the side, or it could become a mainstay. It's hard to know.
I think it's this weird. So for me, it's like a little mix of open and into the dark,
Mm,
and I kind of like it because a long time ago they used to do Warhammer had so I've been playing Warhammer for like 25 years.
yep.
They had this thing called City Fight, and to me, it's very reminiscent of City Fight, where you would. If you get within a certain distance, you can shoot through the wall, or you could do this, or you could do that. But if you're in the building, you fight first. And I kind of really enjoyed the city fight rules for like Warhammer 40k. I think it was back in third edition or something. So
Yep.
I like the Volcus where they're like, oh yeah, actually a little part of this is going to have some into the dark rules, and this is going to be, hey, we've got Vantage as well. Remember that from Open, like.
Yeah, I like the idea of it. I do like the idea of it.
Yeah.
But I haven't quite worked out how to play it very well, so I think that's part of it.
Ah, yeah, practice.
I honestly, I don't actually own the rules yet,
Oh,
so I'm kind of just working off random photos that I've found online and
oh
and what other people are telling me. So maybe that hurts my chances in terms of actually understanding what's happening. But
oh yeah, I the same thing for me. I knew a few people had done the same thing in our group where they had gotten copies from like the Warcom articles, or they'd seen screenshots of the Warcom articles, and they're trying to piece together this weird hybrid thing before. And I'm like, oh, just give me something to read first. I need to read the rules before I play.
yeah, and now I'm going into this Sunday being the TO for
Oh yeah,
for a system that I'm still coming to grips with. So jumping in the deep end.
yeah, it's good. It's good. My one, Emma. When I always struggle with rules, or if someone asks me, so for a very long time, I was like I would say, and a few of the guys are probably making fun of me now for saying this now, but I would say more community leader than TO or tournament guy in Brisbane. And I think the thing is, people will come to you and they'll ask you lots of questions. Oh, how does this work and how does that work? And I'm like, I've got no idea. Hey, like, so for me, my response now a lot of time is, let's just read it out loud. Let's read
Yeah,
the rule out loud.
yeah, 100%. That's the best starting point for anything like that, because
Yeah.
even myself with the previous edition, and running a bunch of tournaments and playing in them and etc., there'll always be something that comes up where it's just like, how does this exactly work? And it's because it's a sticky situation. And the absolute starting point is, let's look at the wording. Let's read let's read the actual rule, because I guess in to GW's credit, the for the most part, if you read the wording, if you look at it all as a whole, you typically get the answer. Because so often, I'm kind of guilty of it myself with this new edition, where it's like you'll read something and you'll be like, oh, that's amazing, I can do this silly thing that just seems broken, and then it's like, well, read the second sentence, and then it's like, oh, okay. They've done well enough to actually clarify that no, you can't just have 10 of the same thing and have a completely unbalanced team or whatever. Reading the rule, looking at the wording, and that kind of back and forth discussion as to
agree.
What does that actually mean?
Exactly.
How does that apply? Because for sure, it's unavoidable that some of the rules are going to be fairly complex, because it's a good thing. It adds flavor and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And just reading through it in its entirety and checking for people's understanding and agreeing on it and stuff.
Understanding and comprehension, that's the big one, right? Yeah. And it's funny to hear, like, I reckon when we listen back to this, it'll be like, oh, just read the rules and then you'll know them. And but it is sort of like that, right?
It is like that. I think it's kind of a two-step process. The first step is not actually reading the rules. The first step is trying to play the game.
Yeah.
Because there's so much involved that at least for myself, I find that the best way to learn it is to try to play the game and then come across these situations where it's like, actually, I don't know what's supposed to happen. Let's read the rules. Because I find it hard to just sit down and read the rule book front to back, right?
It can be difficult, yeah. I think attention for me, I probably it gets to a point where you're like, all right, I've had enough of this. Like,
yeah. So you go in with like one of the cheat sheets that you find online, and it's like, that makes sense. That gives us the basic outline of what happens when, and then you come across something that it's like, well, I'm not actually sure how this should be handled. And that's when you stop and you read that specific rule. And you play a dozen games, you should have come across most things by then. But and even then, you've kind of built up an understanding, at least, of how the game developers write the rules and what they actually mean, and the format of them, so that when something else new that comes up, you can read it again and just be like, oh, okay, so this makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, read it again and it's like, oh, this was similar to this, or maybe it had the same sort of stepping or underlying words or keywords. Yeah, cool. All right, awesome. All right, well, we'll wrap things up. I've just got two really quick questions. So I guess the first one is, what team are you probably looking forward to, either like one that already exists that you're looking to play in 3rd edition, or perhaps one that's coming out? I think we know at this stage it's that Wrecking Crew and the Halflings team. But is there perhaps even another team that you already own that you're like, I actually want to give these guys a bit of a run?
So it's already Hand of the Archon, because they were kind of the first true love type of thing.
Yeah.
And especially since I managed to win that GT with them last year, that was I was pretty happy with the team. And I always felt that I managed to get a fair bit out of them, but they had some pretty significant drawbacks which are no longer there. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for them. But I guess I'm already playing with them, so that doesn't quite answer the question. In terms of,
I think we can let that go as a pass, but if you have another one, yeah, go for it.
if I give you another one, probably Void Dancers, because
Okay.
again, another Eldar team. I played with them a fair bit last edition, and they were very enjoyable.
Okay.
And again, another similar situation where I did fairly well with them. I enjoyed playing with them, but they had some significant drawbacks as well. And I think they have been improved in this new edition. So I think they fall into the bucket of teams that might have a hard time against elites.
Yeah.
But other than that, they look like they could be a lot of fun. So
Okay.
I'm not too happy with how I painted them. I'd probably want to repaint them.
Okay. Well, yeah, maybe you can take your time while you play Hand of the Archon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think I'll get a fair bit of mileage out of Hand of the Archon for a while. They're so great.
Yeah.
It's just the few games I played with them. It's quite they. I think somehow GW read my mind and made them work how I was hoping they would.
I just like the way you can. It's much more easy to get paint tokens, and that,
Yeah,
to me,
100%.
even in the very first game where I didn't know what I was doing, I was like, "Oh, I've got 2 paint tokens on this guy. What do I do
Yep.
now? Like, this is such a treat." Like, yeah,
That's it. That's exactly it. That's just being able to give them out to the people that you want to have them.
Yeah.
Is just so awesome.
Yeah.
Like it really makes the team very dynamic.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And I guess the last question, Emma, is if you could influence Games Workshop, what team would you like to see join Kill Team? That's a good one, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's there's the stock standard answer of Tyranids.
Yep. I think they deserve something, right?
When I was younger, I collected Tyranids for a while in the big game.
Yeah.
Never actually. I did actually play. Like I've got a Morlock sitting on my bookshelf that's collected dust, but it's such an awesome model. Obviously, that wouldn't appear in Kill Team.
No.
Tyranids would be cool. There's always talk about how that could work. It'd probably, like, realistically, it'd either be a bunch of gene stealers with different mutations, or some sort of new mid-range unit that is not just a dumb bug, something that's a bit more clever, so that it kind of fits the idea of Kill Team.
Yeah.
But other than that, what would I think? It'd have to be Eldar related.
100%, right?
It'd be interesting to see like some sort of team made out of just like Craftworld Guardian defenders or whatever.
Yeah, like an Ulthway team maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. You know, it seems a bit kind of. I don't have the kind of knowledge to make it anything interesting. It kind of seems like it might be a bit beige.
No, it's just whatever your heart wants, Emma.
Honestly, like the Corsairs just have so much flavor as well. So how would they do it? I don't know, but just another Eldar team, really.
Easy done. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I truly appreciate your time. I think we've had such a really good conversation, and I'll tell you what, you've definitely inspired me to take Hand of the Archon next time.
I think you definitely should.
Yeah, I will.
They're great.
All right, Emma, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, and there we have it. Thank you very much, Emma. And I just wanted to say thank you very much if you've listened all the way to the end of the podcast. I truly appreciate it. If you could like, comment, subscribe, and do all those things that podcasts want you to do, that'd be appreciated. It really gives me enthusiasm to keep doing this. So once again, thank you very much. Hoping to put another one out in December. We could also talk about some of the tournaments that have been gone over November and the tournaments that will be happening in December. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you very much.